the Roman army. The Roman Empire around the Mediterranean Sea around 2000 years ago, they could raise an army of 800,000 people. And from 100 before Christ onwards, these were professionals who did it for a living, and when they were paid, they got 1/3 then in food. Now, when they were fighting, they would sometimes use the formation called the testudo. They had their shields, the scutari, in front of them, and so the people in the front row having them in front of them, the people at the side of that block having them at the side, and the other people also, and the people in the middle holding it up. So it's a big, almost like a military, an armored vehicle, that whole thing, all standing very tight together. And when they were fighting, now we had the long spears also. And in the Roman soldier, they had 2 spears to throw, and also a short sword, the gladius, 60 centimeters now. And they were also carrying a lot of other things. So first of all, they had to be very fit. 3 times a month, they were going on to walks, 4-hour walks, in which they were walking for 8 kilometers, so pretty fast, bearing weight. And so they made them 30 kilometers in that time with that backpack. Now, and also, when they were besieging another town, they had built sieging vehicles, catapults and other things. And they didn't only had to carry all these other things, they also were carrying shovels and pickaxes and food, clothing and other things, because they had to live, and they were building forts, and they had to have more things. Now, and there were legions. So these 800,000 people, they were split up into legions. One legion with 5,000 soldiers now. 800,000 were possible in a serious condition. So 5,000 people were fighting in a legion. Then a cohort had 500 people, and Centuri had 100 people. Centuri was led by a centurion, a cohort by a tribunus militium, and a legion by a legatus. That is according to Miles Kelly's World History book on the page 172 and 173. If you click this video away, then please tell me what the reason was, so that I can improve. Otherwise, hi and welcome. I am trying to learn Roman Empire studies today, the Roman army, and after we've done that, we're going to do leg injury prevention training. And if you participate in the leg injury prevention training, then it's better at your own risk. The Roman army, we're going to read over this text, and we try to memorize the things said here. This is the second time we're reading it. The Roman army. Rome owed its power to its highly efficient army. Maybe we need to say it at some point as an introduction. In a crisis, Rome could raise an army of 800,000 men. So we could pull up, we could stand up, what is it called? They could raise 800,000 people to serve. The Roman army fought mainly on foot, advancing in tight squares, bristling with spears, and protected by large shields called scutari. They often put shields over their heads to protect them from arrows. This formation was called a testudo, or tortius. So scutari is the name for a shield, scutari. Scutari. And they fought oftentimes in a formation called testudo, and they were all shielding to the sides, but people that run on the sides, shielding to the side, one in front to front, and all the people in the middle to the sky for against arrows. And then we had spears. Under the Republic, the army was divided into legions of 5,000 soldiers. Legions were made up of 10 cohorts. So a cohort has 500. And cohorts in turn consisted of centuries containing 80 to 100 soldiers. So one cohort with 5 centuries, and 10 cohorts were 1 legion. Legion 5,000, cohort 500, and cohort 100. Each legion was led by a legatus, a cohort was led by a tribunus militium, and a centuri was led by a centurion. Okay, the centuri by a centurion, the cohort by a militium, by tribunus militium. Tribunus militium. things called Scuta, Tributus Militium, Tribunus Militium, and the legion by a legatus. Centurius, centurion, a legion by a legatus, and a cohort by a tributus militium, tribunus, tribunus militium. Scutari. Okay, each legion, we have it, all the Roman soldiers had a short sword, 60 centimeters long. They had a short sword, 2 throwing spears, 2 spears to throw. They also wore armor. In the first centuries, vests of chainmail is it called? Chainmail. And a leather helmet. Later, metal strips on a leather tunic and a metal helmet. So, in the first time of the Roman Empire, they had chainmails and leather helmets, and then later on, they had metal strips on top of their leather tunica, and also a metal helmet. 2 spears and a short sword, 60 centimeters. Scutari. And it is the Tribunus Militium. Roman armies built huge siege engines and catapults when they had to capture a town. They built catapults, prefer things, and also siege engines and catapults. So a ram, I think, a battling ram. After 100 before Christ, most Roman soldiers were professionals who joined the army for life. Food accounted for about a third of their wages. When the Roman Empire reached its maximum, so around 100 before Christ, or started to reach its maximum, so we don't really have to say 100 before Christ, but we could. From 100 before Christ onwards, the people in the Roman military army were professionals. They did it for a living, and a third of their wages was paid in food. In training, they were also training. Soldiers went on forced 30-kilometer marches 3 times a month. They moved at 8 kilometers per hour, carrying very heavy packs. Okay, we were walking 3 times a month. We were walking as exercise for 4 hours along with a speed of 8 kilometers per hour, and they were carrying all the heavy pack, and they made them 30 kilometers as training. Very heavy packs. Okay, nothing more to say here. And then the testudo formation proved highly efficient for Roman foot soldiers, and Roman soldiers had to be tough. While on the march, they carried all their weapons and armor, plus a pack. Medieval knights, I'm pretty sure, I never heard it outspoken, but it makes sense, did not wear their armor. It is way too heavy. Do we know somehow that Roman soldiers were wearing their armor and not had them maybe in a backpack, which could be easier, or even carried? Maybe not the carried part, but just do we know that they wore them when they were walking? Because I think that the medieval knights were not wearing their heavy armor. Okay, they carried their weapons, armor, plus it's also maybe not so good to walk in. I mean, why should something which someone wears in a battle, battles do not happen oftentimes, against, I don't want to get too much into details, but fight against swords or against spears or something, why should that be able to walk good in? Imagine walking in something for hours. Would it not make big problems that is not designed to walk in? Maybe it is with metal plates, but maybe we should think about it all. It would make sense if they would not wear it. Why should they? They knew when a battle comes. They are not suddenly, except for the Varus battle, surprised by thousands of people and have to go into a big battle and wear all their armor. So it's just because they say here they were on the march carrying weapons and armor, it's not really efficient to wear metal plates and so on when someone walks. And maybe it's not even possible to walk for hours. Already medical meaning. Okay, they were wearing their weapons and armors, and also pack full of clothes. What did they have in there? When they were wearing all day, even when they were marching, their metal armor. why do we need any other clothes? We need their clothes because we're wearing them, and if they go into battle, they put on their armor. But I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just asking, has someone an idea? Because that would make a lot of sense, what I just say. So we're wearing the weapons and armor, and also other clothes, food, and tools for digging, pickaxes, shovels, and so on. And there's a timetable. Okay, we have do I know it is a scutari. A scutari, it is the testudo. Testudo the tortoise, it is the Legion 5000 for cohort 500 and the Centurio 100. The Centurio by Centurion, the cohort by Tribunus Militium, and the legions by Legatus. Then the thing with the sword, the lever, the two spears, the four marching, 800,000 catapults. I just tried to say it, it's not that long, so I have time for a second time. I'm going to start the second time. The Roman army. The Roman Empire around the Mediterranean Sea around 2000 years ago, they could raise an army of 800,000 people. And from 100 before Christ onwards, these were professionals who did it for a living, and when they were paid, they got 1/3 then in food. Now, when they were fighting, they would sometimes use the formation called the testudo. They had their shields, the scutari, in front of them, and so the people in the front row having them in front of them, the people at the side of the block having them at the side, and the other people also, and the people in the middle holding them up. So it's a big, almost like a military, an armored vehicle, that whole thing, all standing very tight together. And then they were fighting. Now we had the long spears also. And in the Roman soldier, they had 2 spears to throw, and also a short sword, the gladius, 60 centimeters long. And they were also carrying a lot of other things. So first of all, they had to be very fit. 3 times a month, they were going on to walks, 4-hour walks, in which they were walking for 8 kilometers, so pretty fast, bearing weight. And so we made them 30 kilometers in that time with that backpack. Now, and also, when they were besieging another town, they had built sieging vehicles, catapults and other things. And they did not only have to carry all these other things, they also were carrying shovels and pickaxes and food, clothing and other things, because they had to live, and they were building forts, and they had to have more things. Now, and there were legions. So these 800,000 people, they were split up into legions. One legion with 5,000 soldiers now. 800,000 were possible in a serious condition. So 5,000 people were fighting in a legion. Then a cohort had 500 people, and Centuri had 100 people. Centuri was led by a Centurion, a cohort by a Tribunus Militium, and a legion by a Legatus. That is according to Miles Kelly's World History book on the page 172 and 173. I'm going to stop the camera. And that was the Roman Empire Studies. If you were here for Roman Empire Studies, you can go directly to the next part of Roman Empire Studies. If you stay here and participate in the leg injury prevention training, then it's at your own risk. Good and stable standing leg and swing the foot in front and to the side. Other foot in front and to the side. And the foot in front and back. And the other foot in front and back. And now I'm thinking about the Roman Empire. And now one foot up, and the leg to the side, breathe again in, and in the middle, and down, leg up, to the side, breathe in, and in the middle, and down, and foot up, and move over, middle, and over, other leg up, and over cross, again, middle and down. One leg up, press with the knee up and to the side, up to the side. Other foot up and press up to the side. And now one hand on tummy, one on lower back, and lift the leg up in a straight line. And pull the leg. And go up. And pull the leg up. And now stand good on one leg, turn over to the leg, this can go onto the knee, down onto the knee, turn slowly and controlled over, and come up again. Other leg, turn over, down, again over, and up. Next exercise, this can go again onto the knee, stand good, and go and reach with the heel always to imaginary 90-minute intervals on a dial of a clock. And now with the other leg, to 12 o'clock and to 1:30, to 3 o'clock and 10:30, to 9 o'clock, 7:30 and 6, to 4:30 and 3 o'clock. Now, one heel onto the ground, don't do it if you're pregnant. Lift the heel off the ground and place it again onto the ground. Other heel onto the ground and lift off. Now one leg up and down. And go on the stamp, flex foot. And now the horse, leg in and out. Now if you like, you can do the camel, the whole body moves. And the other leg up and back. Legs to the sides, breathing down. And out. Another round, breathe in. And out. Breathe in and close legs. And breathe again out. That was for leg injury prevention training. I thank you very much and until next time.